2013 was a pretty good year. It was a bit weird at times, but it was overall a very enjoyable year. And I played a load of games last year. 26 to be exact. I know what you're thinking. Why did you wait until now to make a list before it was done to death? Simple. Sometimes it takes me a bit longer than you'd think for me to form a true opinion on something. On my last list, I would have definitely changed the order up if I still could. Now that I think about it, I actually do like Sonic Adventure more than Door to Phantom Isle. I put Okami way too low, and Pokemon Black and White 2 should have been number 1, but they weren't. Besides, unlike other lists, I'm covering every game I have played all year. Enough rambling, let's start. Pokémon Coliseum is an awesome concept for a game. The idea of capturing shadow Pokemon and having a different story than most Pokemon games is really great. It also has some really nice music. I wanted this game for years, but I kept getting preoccupied by other games. But what made me want to get it right away was Chugga Conroy did a Let's Play of it. So I thought, what am I waiting for? I should get this game. Big mistake. Look at this. Looks promising, doesn't it? Well, as long as you're cool with some of the stuff that I'm gonna say, then it'll meet up to your expectations. It has an amazing concept, but it suffered from seriously wasted potential. This entire game can be described in one word: redundant. Having to purify the Pokemon is redundant. The battles are redundant because they take up 80% of the game. I know it's an RPG and all, but even for a Pokemon game, there are so many battles that the Cypher Grudge battle theme is the most repetitive track in the series. When I'm infiltrating the bases, I don't feel like I'm meddling in the affairs of a criminal organization. I feel like I'm just facing battle after battle after battle after battle after battle after battle with only minute-long breaks. What about the overworlds? Well, they might as well be non-existent because not only are you only there for 20% of the game, they don't even have some of the awesome puzzles that the normal Pokemon games do, except for only one puzzle, which isn't even that good. Not to mention, when you're in a narrow hallway, you'd better be careful because Rui will keep getting in your way for no reason. And they don't even let you choose the Johto starter you can have with you. Or at least they don't make you think you can. They just give you the choice of fighting against one of the 3 Cypher Grunts without telling you the other 2 will go away. One false move, and you could be stuck with the starter you didn't want. I wanted to get a Bayleaf, but instead I was stuck with Klonoa. Even the final level is a ripoff because it doesn't give you the end-of-game feel, it's neither intense nor triumphant, and the music that plays in it is stupid. I literally had to have someone tell me it was the final level in the game. I am not kidding. I enjoyed Chugga Conroy's Let's Play of this game much more than the game itself. Now that I think about it, Skyward Sword doesn't seem all that bad. Why did I miss this game on my least favorite games list? I don't hate it as much as Final Fantasy III for the DS, but I still don't like it. Mega Man 3 was going to be the worst game I played in 2013, but when I think about it, Pokémon Coliseum was the worst game I played in 2013. Speaking of Mega Man 3... I found Mega Man 3 to be a very bland game. I can see why people liked it, but I wasn't very big of it. It did introduce the slide ability, which was needed, but the rush ability didn't feel really awesome to me. I don't have anything against Rush. Heck, I think it looks cool that he's gonna be used by Mega Man in the next Smash Bros. Game, but I didn't have a lot of fun using it. And having to fight the past Robot Masters in very frustrating versions of previous levels didn't entertain me as much as it entertained most people. And while some levels were nice, the majority was just plain bland. Overall, I did not like this game. You know what? I'm not sure that I can form a fair opinion on the original Kid Icarus. You know why? Because I can't even get past the 3rd level! As a lot of you know, this game is known for its notorious difficulty level at the beginning of the game. Games are normally easy at first but hard at the end. This game is very hard at the beginning, but according to others, the later part isn't nearly as frustrating, which keeps the game higher than Mega Man 3 and Pokémon Coliseum, but I wouldn't know since I haven't even gotten to that point. But until then, which will probably not be for another several years, if ever, I don't think I can form a fair opinion on this game. Mega Man X3 is not a game I have a lot to say about. It's an okay game. It has good soundtrack and an art style that isn't as good as the first two, but still somewhat decent. I wish it had more innovation, but it's an okay game. Mario Party 2 is widely regarded as the best game in the Mario Party series. I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's still fun. It has some of the addicting minigames from the first Mario Party games, while at the same time bringing in some new ones. It also has somewhat of a story for each board where Bowser has done something wrong and the winner has to stop him. You may not get to fight Bowser, but there is a fight scene which is pretty neat looking. I also like how the characters are dressed in certain outfits depending on the board. Good game overall. New Super Mario Bros. 2 has been referred to by some as nothing more than an expansion pack to the New Super Mario Bros. Series. I wish it had more innovation and kept the spin attack, and some of the more creative level design aspects, but it's still fun. It feels so awesome to get so many coins at once. Yes, it lets you get a lot of lives, making it really hard to get game over. I didn't get a lot of game overs in the Wii version anyways. And thank you for bringing back the mini mushroom. This game isn't as fun as it could have been, but it's still fun. I'd like to thank Clefairy Rocks for introducing me to Shantae. It didn't meet up to my expectations, but I still like the game. This game combines platforming elements with adventuring elements to it. I wish it had more of a sense of direction. I mean, even though it scrolls left and right for most of the time, it sometimes doesn't tell you where you're supposed to go. The music is relatively decent at first, but then it really grew on me. You can use these dance moves to transform into certain animals, and they all have different abilities. The difficulty is admittedly unforgiving at times, but at least it's more forgiving than this frustration! And there is something else weird that I want to address. What kind of cheesy villain name is Risky? But it's still pretty good. Super Mario 3D Land. This game is what a lot of people expected Super Mario 64 to be like. A linear 3D Mario game with the classic Mario mechanics. Go to the levels consecutively, the levels are linear, bash certain blocks if you're small to make Mario get bigger, bash them if you're tall to make Mario gain certain powers, if you get hit you power down, tap A to swim higher, and the lava kills you in one hit. The special pictures you get in the game are a pretty nice touch as well. And certain binoculars that let you see the rest of the level, which is really cool. And it brought the boomerang flower. I wanted that for a while. I also like how the game has 8 additional worlds after you beat the game, making it twice as long. Some of the levels are clones of others, but it's still fun. Some people consider this to be a Mario Galaxy clone. How exactly is it a Mario Galaxy clone? It doesn't have space levels, star bits, or any of those Mario Galaxy elements in them, aside from a few references, and reusing a few songs. If you ask me, it's more of Mario 64 than Mario Galaxy. So if there's one thing that bugs me about the modern Mario Brothers games, other than their glaring similarities, it's the fact that every classical Mario platformer nowadays has a flagpole goal, which I'm getting sick of. But here, it's not as bad, since getting all the golden flagpoles is required if you want to get 100%. This game overall is really good, but it would have been higher if it had more differences than the new Super Mario Bros. Series. New Super Mario Bros. U. No, not New Super Luigi U. I haven't played that game, nor do I have a reason to get it, since I've seen Let's Plays of Captain Von Schweigernat, Sully Pones, We Right to Pray, and Deceleration 47. And it's pretty much the exact same game, except with a touch of Luigi. It should have been a completely new game starring Luigi, rather than literally the least innovative new Super Mario Bros. Game ever. The only differences in the gameplay is that Mario is replaced with Nabbit, who is completely broken since he can't get hurt. Now back to New Super Mario Bros. U. While some people hate it for being an expansion pack, this game is better than the 3DS version because it feels a bit different. The level backgrounds are different, and the overworld map is awesome. Now the whole map is linked together, and there are some really cool pathways. The story is also better than most Mario games because now you don't have to just save Peach, but the entire castle as well. Okay, that's been done before, but at least it's different for 2D Mario platformers. Overall, this game is great. Okamiden didn't use its full potential for a sequel. I mean, it does reuse a lot of areas from the original Okami, and a lot of music, but it also has some original songs and areas. Chimaterasu isn't as stylish as Amaterasu, but he sure is cuter and funnier, and the partner system is really awesome. This game is set 9 months after the events of the original Okami, so I decided to be clever and play the game 9 months after I played the original. This game is great overall. I've talked about Mario Kart DS in my top 15 DS games list, so what more do I need to say about it? Well, I'll just talk about it anyways. It introduced tracks from the past Mario Kart games. It has a bigger map on the bottom screen to help you see what's going on around you while still being able to see the normal map. It lets you play online, and the missions are very fun to play through. It also has some very creative tracks such as Waluigi Pinball, Luigi's Mansion, and especially Tick Tock Clock. This is a brilliant racing game. I've wanted to get Earthbound for many years now, but unfortunately, Nintendo was too clumsy to sell this game easily. Why do retro games not get found as much as modern games? Thankfully, in 2013, this game finally got released on the Virtual Console. While I've been waiting a while for this game, I now think it's a good thing they waited to bring it onto the Wii U Virtual Console because of so much having to travel all the way back if you die. The Wii U restore points make this not nearly as annoying. I know what you're thinking. You're only using those restore points because you stink at the game and you're a cheater. There's a difference between using restore points to keep yourself from losing and using them to keep yourself from having to travel an incredibly long distance every time you die. Unlike most RPGs, this game has a lot of real-life elements. You pay to ride the bus, go to the inn to rest up, go to the hospital to restore unconscious characters, and you can even call to order certain stuff. Though this can be annoying at times. I mean, sometimes Ness will miss his mother so much that he'll lose the motivation to even attack. The only way to cure this condition is to call Ness's mom. You'd assume that just calling Ness's mom every time you get to a phone will reset this, but no, it only works when Ness is homesick. It can be so annoying, but the game is still really fun. Klonoa 2 Lunaty's Veal. This game is really fun to play, but it doesn't really feel all that different from Door to Phantomile. Nevertheless, the level design is still amazing. The game also has a slightly darker tone than the original Klonoa, while still having a beautiful art style. It also has a better storyline to it, and the music is still really enjoyable to listen to. It's a great game overall. Now Namco, if by some remote chance you're watching this video, listen to me and make Klonoa 3! Remember towards the beginning of the list when I said that I don't think I can form a fair opinion on the original Kid Icarus because it was way too frustrating? Kid Icarus Uprising, on the other hand, I can form a fair opinion on because this game wasn't too unfairly cheap. Some people say that this game is the best game on the 3DS. I wouldn't say it deserves that title, but I can see why people love it. I love some of the dialogue in this game because it is hilarious. Ranging from fourth wall jokes to one of the only times where constant torture of a certain character is actually funny, to poking fun at old cliches and not having to scream at the top of their lungs every time they do so. I'm looking at you back at the barnyard! This game even pokes fun at the unforgiving difficulty of the first part of the original Kid Icarus. Kind of the franchise's way of apologizing for the first part being so annoying. I guess I can say apology accepted. I also like the classic Kid Icarus references, and a lot of this game's soundtrack is reminiscent to the original Kid Icarus, with all the awesome remixes. I am very glad that I got this game for Christmas. While I like the original Luigi's Mansion, there was one flaw with it. It's not scary! This game, on the other hand, I thought was a huge improvement. It had some moments that actually scared me, especially in the Paranormal Chaos mission. And the game has 5 different mansions instead of 1, giving it more of a variety in levels. I also like the missions. It does take away some of the exploration, but I also like some of the little bits of dialogue that Luigi has. The bosses in this game are also a huge improvement over the original, and it also brings in the dark light device, making invisible objects visible. Trust me, it's really fun to use. And the ability to peek into certain rooms to see what ghosts are up to is actually kind of cool. Now, unlike most anticipators who got this game the day it came out, I waited until October to fit the Halloween mood. Though there is one problem with the game. Now I have a confession to make. I don't hate escort missions as much as everyone else does, but the Toad missions are an exception. They can be really annoying to escort sometimes. I don't really have anything else to say. I love the game. What can I say about Pikmin 3? This game is just amazing. This time, the captain system is even better than before. You had 2 captains in the previous games, but now you have 3! In this game, your goal is to collect food to help the starvation issue of the home planet. You'll need to have some of the food that you find every day to stay alive, though. This game also has somewhat of a storyline to it, even assigning missions to go to certain areas every so often. It does, in a way, take away some of the ability to play in any order you want. There are still instances where you can play whatever order you want. It also introduces the Pink Pikmin and Rock Pikmin. They are 2 awesome types of Pikmin to use. The Rock Pikmin can't latch onto enemies, but they really pack a punch and let you bust glass. The Pink Pikmin can fly, so you don't have to worry about them following you when you go underwater because they'll merely just float above it, and they can carry objects in slightly shorter distances. I don't know if it's better than Pikmin 2 or not, but I do know one thing. It's awesome. After Bowser's Inside Story, which I didn't really like for some strange reason, I was hoping that Dream Team would impress me more. And I was right! I'm going to admit this. This is the first time I got a Mario game the day it came out. While this game's music is just okay at first, it's very easy to look back on. It's also the first 3D Mario RPG game since, well, Super Mario RPG. I also like the throwbacks to the previous Mario and Luigi games. Papa returns from Superstar Saga, Kylie returns from Partners in Time, and Starlo returns from Bowser's Inside Story. I also like how they went from being able to only save through save blocks to being able to save anywhere you want. It is weird that they still have the save blocks even though they serve no purpose now, but even still, that's a great improvement. There was an admittedly impressive mechanic from Bowser's Inside Story with the retry clocks, which let you restart the battle instead of having to start all over from the preceding cutscene, as long as you have enough of those retry clocks. But now you don't need the retry clocks. You can start the battle whenever you die as many times as you want. And I'll admit I did enjoy the giant Bowser battles in the previous game. The giant Luigi battles aren't as intense, but each blow feels more satisfying. Also, the Dream World. It's awesome. You can use Luigi to help you get past certain parts, like making a huge stack of Luigis, pulling his mustache to fling you to higher areas, and turning on and off the heat to get you through certain parts. The battles are also fun because you use a bunch of Luigis to attack multiple enemies at once. Oh, and you can reflect from any direction with the hammer, and move up and down when you're doing the jumping dodge. The fact that there are so many Luigis on the screen is so cool, and did a much better job at making me respect him than New Super Luigi U ever would. Now let's get to the first game that I had played in 2013, Sonic Advance. What I love about this game is how it rehashes the classic Sonic games. The music may not be the most memorable in the franchise, but it sure is epic. It also has you play as 4 different characters, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. Sonic is the fastest and most balanced character. Tails has the ability to fly, Knuckles can glide and climb certain walls, and Amy can hit enemies with her hammer. Not much else needs to be said about this game. You should check it out if you're a classic Sonic fan. Sonic Heroes. I've heard some bad stories about how the controls are awful in the PS2 version. Thank goodness I have the GameCube version of this game. This game plays somewhat similar to what you'd expect a normal 2D Sonic game rendered in 3D to be. Well, other than the hero system. You can choose between who you want to have in the lead. You have the speed character, the flying character, and the powerhouse. There are 4 different teams to play as in this game. Admittedly, you have to play through the levels 4 times, but the slight changes make it not nearly as repetitive as it could have been. There's Team Sonic, which consists of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, who have the most balanced gameplay. There's Team Shadow, which consists of Shadow, Rouge, and Omega, and they have the most challenging versions of the levels. Team Amy is the easiest version, which consists of Amy, Cream, and Big the Cat, who is actually useful. Team Chaotix consists of Espio, Charmy, and Vector, 3 characters that are really fun to play as, having some pretty neat dialogue, and the levels having slightly different layouts and certain missions that make things interesting. The levels also have some cool mechanics to them, such as hitting switches to change the rail pathways, being chased by a giant crocodile, and flipping the level upside down. And while getting the final ending does require the Chaos Emeralds, it was actually fun, unlike in Sonic Chaos, because you can go back to the levels you've beaten. There's one annoyance, however, it's the fact that the camera can be a bit of a pain. But overall, this game is really fun. And I'm glad I got the GameCube version instead of the PS2 version. In my top 10 least favorite games, I said that I'd hoped that I'd enjoy Link Between Worlds more than Skyward Sword. And, turns out, I do! This game is very reminiscent to Link to the Past. It has the same overworld with a few changes to it, and some really nice remixes of classic songs from the game. It also has some reference to other Zelda games too. It has the Sacred Realm from Ocarina of Time, there's a picture of Majora's Mask in Ravio's house, and it even brings back the Sand Rod from Spirit Tracks. Lorule Overworld is kind of a clone of the Dark World from Link to the Past, but it does have differences. The game also has a wider variety of music than Link to the Past, with each Lorule dungeon having different songs. The dungeons in Hyrule may seem like the same dungeon as in Link to the Past at first, but with the ability to turn into a drawing on the wall and walk along it, really changes up the formula and lets you walk around on outside parts of the dungeon. That is really awesome. If I were to give this game a ranking on my Zelda games list, I'd rank it number 7. It's better than Oracle of Ages, but not as good as Majora's Mask. It does have some flaws. Aside from being a bit too similar to Link to the Past, there's some things I'm a bit bothered by. I don't want to come off as a nostalgia fanboy, but I kind of preferred it when you could get your items from the dungeons instead of having the ability to use all of them from the start. Yeah, not only do you have to rent all your items, but when you die, you have to give them all back. Thank goodness you have the option to buy them permanently later in the game. But I still like getting the items in the dungeons better. But here's the difference between me and nostalgia fanboys. While I like nostalgia, I don't think that would automatically ruin the game. This game may not be quite as good as Link to the Past, but it's still really awesome. Sonic Unleashed. Oh boy, this game is awesome. It is a huge joy to play both the daytime stages and the nighttime stages. Some people say that the daytime stages are awesome, but the nighttime stages are a huge killjoy. Others say they like the nighttime stages even more than the daytime stages. Me, I personally prefer the daytime stages because it feels awesome running even faster than usual. Also, I like how in the daytime stages, it switches between third person and side scroller. But the nighttime stages are also pretty fun. In the night stages, Sonic turns into a werehog, letting you beat down enemies in an incredibly satisfying way. It does have a few flaws in the game, however. Aside from small nitpicks like how the levels don't resemble that of the classic Sonic game, the final boss was pretty broken, but I won't talk about it because I don't want to spoil anything. There aren't really that many opportunities to get extra lives, which I do think it's weird when they just hand out lives like candy, but this one doesn't provide you with enough at times. But that doesn't ruin the game for me. It's a blast to play through. While 3D Land was a great game, 3D World fixed some of the flaws that 3D Land had. It has a wider variety of original music, which is a great touch, and the visuals are gorgeous. It also has a bigger level variety than 3D Land, such as a Chinese temple, a circus tent, and even a Mario Kart level. Maybe I'm missing something, but how many times do you see a spin-off level in a main series game? And the stamps are also pretty fun to get. I also like the new powers. The cat suit, which lets you climb walls, and the double cherries, which lets you have more than one of you at once. And they brought back the Mega Mushroom! And you can choose between 4 different characters to play as whenever you want. Well, 5 when you unlock Rosalina. You can play as Mario, who is the most balanced character, Luigi, who can jump higher but is slower, Toad, who is faster but has a weaker jump, and Peach, who can float in midair. Kinda like what they could do in Super Mario Bros. 2. Rosalina can use the spin attack, which lets her get a bit more of a jump. This makes her very fun to play as. The clear pipes are also really cool because you can control what direction you can go in. This is also one of Bowser's best roles in the platforming Mario games. While he's capturing these Sprixies, which don't really have a known purpose in the Mushroom world, at least it's better than capturing Peach all the darn time, letting her have some of the fun for once. I mean, seriously, Peach has a life too, you know. Now, because this game came out on the same day as Link Between Worlds, this game did overshadow Link Between Worlds a little bit, but it's still a slightly better game. Overall, I love this game. Before I played Sonic Colors, I expected it to be the best game I had played all year. I was wrong because, while it's an awesome game, it doesn't have a very big diversity in levels. It has a hotel resort level, a water level, a sweets level, a grassland factory, and 3 space levels, and that's it. And it is a very short game. I like how it keeps the ability to go between 2D and 3D sections, but 75% of the game is side-scrolling, and even the 3D sections feel a bit narrow. That's not to say the game is bad though. The art style and level design are amazing. And the cutscenes are also pretty nice, and they even have some clever jokes in them. It's also the first time where Eggman has been the main antagonist of a 3D Sonic game. Also, the Wisp powers. It does stink that Sonic doesn't have some of his normal powers and has to use Wisps to be able to use them, but it's still really fun to use the Wisps. We have the Laser, which lets you go in crystal paths, the Drill ability, which lets you burrow into the ground in certain portions of levels and go faster in water, the Spike ability, which lets you stick to walls and ceilings, the Cube ability, which lets you change between diamonds and cubes, the Frenzy ability, which lets you turn into a giant flopping crocodile shark thing, the Hover ability, which, well, lets you hover, and the Rocket ability, which lets you launch into the air. For some reason, when I saw them, they did seem like they'd be a bit gimmicky, but I couldn't help but enjoy using them. And Sonic can swim in this game, making Aquarium Park much better than it could have been. My favorite level in the game would have to be the Asteroid Coaster, because you can ride on a roller coaster through space, run around the rings of Saturn, and run around the moon. It may not be the absolute best game I played in 2013, but sure came close to it. I'm very sorry, Josh. I couldn't resist. I just love Super Mario Galaxy 2 so much. It's not as good as the original, but it's still awesome. I know some people hate it because it's an expansion of the original Mario Galaxy. I think it does have some differences. It has more power-ups, such as the Boulder power-up, which lets you bowl over enemies. The Cloud power-up, while you can only use it 3 times, it lets you create a cloud just by spinning. The addition of Yoshi is also great, and no, it's not just a gimmick. At least to me it isn't. It does change up the gameplay. He can use some of his moves from the normal games by eating enemies, and he can use his tongue to grab certain objects to swing off them. In addition to that, he has 3 new power-ups. He has the ability to light up areas, float like a balloon, and run really fast. Yes, it reuses some songs from the original game, but the songs it does introduce are downright amazing. I don't care if they're remixes of the original theme. Also, I still do feel like I'm in space for half the time. And some people say this game is too easy. Part of the reason why is because of how many 1-ups it just straight out hands to you. Well, trust me, you won't need those 1-ups because the prankster comments are really difficult. Don't blast you stupid Cosmic Marios, you can— Mario Kart 7. While Mario Kart Wii was awesome enough, this game feels a bit better. They had some great improvements over the previous games. It also has some gliding sections which rock. They even have gliding sections added from retro tracks. The cars also have even more customization than ever, where you can customize the car, the wheel, and even the glider. And one major thing they improved was the racing system. In the previous Mario Kart games, when you lost, half the time it wasn't even your fault because how the racers kept ganging on you. But in this game, they're focused on both you and each other, making it much more fair. So most of the time, instead of getting hit by 4 weapons at once, I mostly got hit by 2 weapons at once, which is still kind of annoying but not nearly as irritating. Also, with some of the tracks have different sections instead of laps, making them all the more creative. Like in one of them, you start at the beach in the first section. In the second section, you drive through a cave and up a mountain, and then the last section, gliding into the sunset. Yep, that is a complete track. And trust me, there's more where that came from. This game also has a very wide variety of levels. It has a music level, a shipyard, a high-tech city, a mountain, a sewer level, a desert, an ice level, a beach level, a jungle, and that's not even counting the retro tracks. Oh, and you can go underwater at certain points. And you'd assume that they'd be tedious like most water levels, but believe it or not, they actually are really fun. This game does have a few flaws, however, but none of them would ruin the game. But what reason was there to include Honey Queen in the game? And I wish they had kept the boost pads on the half-pipe sections, because I enjoyed using them. This game is still my favorite racing game ever. At least until Mario Kart 8 comes out. Alright. Before we finish up this countdown, I am going to recap the bottom 25 before we get to the best game I had played in 2013. Number 26, Wasted Potential. Number 25, Mega Man Expansion Pack. Number 24, Too Frustrating to Form an Opinion. Number 23, Mega Man X3. Number 22, Mario Party 2. Number 21, New Super Mario Bros. 2. Number 20, Shantae. Number 19, Super Mario 3D Land. Number 18, New Super Mario Bros. U. Number 17, Okamiden. Number 16, Mario Kart DS. Number 15, Earthbound. Number 14, Klonoa 2, Lunatic's Veil. Number 13, Kid Icarus Uprising. Number 12, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Number 11, Pikmin 3. Number 10, Mario and Luigi Dream Team. Number 9, Sonic Advance. Number 8, Sonic Heroes. Number 7, Link Between Worlds. Number 6, Sonic Unleashed. Number 5, Super Mario 3D World. Number 4, Sonic Colors. Number 3, please forgive me, Josh Scorcher. And number 2, Mario Kart 7. Like there was any other choice. Pokémon X and Y. How ironic that a Pokemon game is my number 1 worst, and a Pokemon game is my number 1 best game I had played in 2013. It was a 3-way tussle between Pokemon X and Y, Super Mario Galaxy 2, and Mario Kart 8 for which game would take the number 1 spot on the list. It took me a while, but I finally decided what the order of the top 3 would be in. Pokemon X and Y did a great job at changing up the formula for the Pokemon series. Look at the battles in the original generation. Now look at them now! Ever since Generation 1, battles have gotten so much more developed. I know 3D battles are nothing new to the series, but they are new to the normal Pokemon games. The Mega Evolutions are also really awesome, and they were very needed since now they redeem Pokemon such as Medicham, Banette, and Alakazam. Yes, they do make some Pokemon cheaper, but to balance it out, there is only 1 permitted per battle. The only Mega Evolutions that really bothered me were Mega Blaziken, because that's not fair to Sceptile and Swampert, and also the Mega Mewtwo's. Was it really necessary to give a Pokemon that already has a base stat total of 680 even better stats than Arceus? You know, Arceus, the thing that's supposed to be the god of all Pokemon. But the whole concept of Mega Evolutions is awesome. Also the Fairy type. While I would have preferred a Light type, I guess this one will do. I mean, now it gives more changes to the type matchups. Not only do dragons have another weakness, but Steel and Poison finally have something else to be super effective against. Thank you so much, Game Freak! Also, now you can ride on some certain Pokemon. While I do think it's kind of weird that wild Pokemon are just letting some random humans ride on their back, it's still really fun to do. Oh, and by the way, the Sky Battles. They are really fun. Now you can customize your character. That's something that I wasn't really hyped for, but I still think that it's a really good thing, and I'm really grateful that Game Freak did this. The roller skates are also really fun to use, and now you have 4 rivals instead of 1. Though it does have some flaws in it. I mean, I can see they got rid of the seasons because of how some items were blocked off during the winter, but they probably could have done something other than taking the seasons out altogether. It does introduce only 69 Pokemon, not counting the Mega Evolutions, which is kind of a letdown, but the Kalos Pokédex is huge, letting you use so many different types of Pokemon before you beat the champion. Speaking of the champion, I started playing Pokemon in 2003, and after 10 years, I finally got to find out who the champion is without having someone else spoil it for me. This game does have its flaws, which I pointed out, but its positive weigh out its negatives hugely. If I had waited to make my Pokemon Generations list, Generation 6 would have been number 3, but this is a list of games I played in 2013. And in my mind, Pokemon X and Y are the best games that I have played in 2013.